I'm Mike, and joining me today is Susan. We are peeling back the layers on one of the most persistent and uh, frustrating feelings in modern life.
That feeling that you're always falling behind.
Exactly. That sense that no matter how hard you work, you are constantly playing catch-up financially. We've been looking at some fascinating stuff that really helps redefine what success even means.
It really does.
But first, welcome everyone to vpod.ai. You can sponsor this conversation for just $25. Your message will be featured across major platforms like Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and more. If you're interested, just contact info@vpod.ai to get started today.
And that feeling of being perpetually behind is, well, it's so pervasive, and it's often completely divorced from reality.
Right.
So we aren't just looking at bank statements today. We're exploring the psychological barriers to wealth and then the precise steps you can take to move toward genuine financial freedom.
And I think the number one psychological barrier, the thing that just poisons the well for so many of us, is what we're calling the comparison trap.
Absolutely. I mean, just think about the frame of reference 50 years ago.
Sure.
Your comparisons were limited to, your town, your neighborhood, maybe your immediate family circle. That created a kind of manageable pressure.
A much smaller pond.
A much smaller pond. Now, thanks to the internet and social media, we are comparing ourselves to the entire world.
And not even the real world.
No, not at all. We're comparing ourselves to the carefully curated highlight reels of the world, and this makes perfectly healthy, successful people feel much, much worse off than they actually are.
So our mission today is to cut through all of that noise. We're going to look at the verifiable signs that you are already winning the money game, define the 6 stages of financial maturity, and then pinpoint the critical mistakes you need to dodge at every decade of life.
Sounds good.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start with some good news right away. If you feel like you're struggling, let's look at 4 measurable signs that you, the listener, are actually ahead of the national average.
And the first sign is, well, it's the most foundational. It's simply having financial margin.
Margin. What do you mean by that?
If you are consistently spending less than you earn, you are already demonstrating a discipline that escapes nearly half the country.
Nearly half.
Yeah. Our data shows that only 51% of U.S. adults spend less than they earn. So if you have anything left over at the end of the month, you are beating 49% of the country right out of the gate. That's real progress.
That statistic is just alarming. That half the country is spending at or above their income. It just shows how fragile most people's financial lives really are.
It's incredibly fragile.
So what's the next layer of resilience that separates the winners?
An established emergency fund. And we define this as having enough liquid savings to cover at least 3 months of expenses.
Okay, the classic 3 months.
The classic 3 months. If you have that buffer, you're prepared for the inevitable shock. A car repair, a temporary job loss, an unexpected medical bill, and only 55% of Americans have 3 months saved. So having that peace of mind means you are financially better equipped than 45% of the population.
And debt, particularly consumer debt, is often the anchor that prevents people from ever even building an emergency fund in the first place.
Oh, it's the great killer of progress. If you carry little to no debt, maybe outside of a mortgage, you are in an incredibly strong position.
And the numbers on this are just staggering.
They're genuinely shocking. The average American carries around $62,000 in personal debt, not including the mortgage.
Wow.
And the average household has over $9,000 in credit card debt alone. So clearing that kind of burden off your shoulders is, well, it's maybe the biggest single step toward actual freedom.
And the final sign, this one is all about future building. That's investing, correct?
Exactly. Actively participating in the wealth creation process.
So stocks, bonds, that sort of thing.
Yep. Investing in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, or ETFs, which are just baskets of investments, it means you are building generational wealth. About 38% of Americans own no stocks at all.
So if you're participating, even just through a retirement account at work,
you are making yourself part of that wealth building majority.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me, because financial health isn't purely mathematical.
No.
We focus so much on the numbers, but the research points to a really powerful non-financial indicator of success: emotional wealth.
You can't stress this enough. Financial health often reflects underlying emotional health. Ask yourself, do you have loved ones who support and encourage you? Do you have people who hold you accountable to your goals?
That network is key.
That social support network is a key sign you're ahead in life. So many poor money choices, like compulsive shopping, massive lifestyle inflation, avoiding critical conversations about debt.
Right?
They often stem from self-esteem issues or, emotional voids.
So the supportive people around you, they aren't just cheering you on. They're almost providing a non-monetary foundation of discipline.
Precisely. If you are surrounded by people who model positive habits and prioritize long-term well-being over instant gratification, those values tend to manifest in better money habits.
Mm.
If you feel supported and valued in your relationships, you are less likely to seek comfort or validation in, unnecessary spending. It just reinforces discipline and resilience, which is invaluable.
That foundation of resilience, having margin, having savings, keeping debt low, that moves us from just being financially healthy to moving toward financial freedom.
Right.
And we learned that this isn't a single switch you flip. It's a continuum, a series of defined stages.
Yes. Think of it less like a finish line and more like climbing a mountain. Each stage you reach grants you greater autonomy, more choice, and more self-expression.
And you break this climb into two parts, right? The surviving stages and the thriving stages.
That's right. You have to build the foundation first, that's surviving. And then money can truly become a tool for life design, which is thriving.
So lay out the surviving stages for us, starting at the very bottom.
Okay, so stage 0 is dependence. This is relying entirely on others, or, and this is very common, spending more than you earn. You're essentially digging deeper into debt every single month.
And the first crucial step up from that
Is stage 1, solvency. You've turned the tide. Your income is now greater than your expenses, and you are no longer accumulating new debt.
Okay, so you're treading water.
You're surviving, but you are still fragile. An unexpected expense could send you right back to dependence.
So stage 2 is about reinforcing the structure.
Correct. Stage 2 is stability or resilience. This is where you aggressively eliminate consumer debt, credit cards, personal loans, and you establish that critical 3 to 6 month emergency buffer.
This is a huge milestone.
It's foundational peace of mind.
Right.
Once you hit stability, you can cope with almost any common unexpected event without going back into high interest debt.
And stage 3 is the one that gets talked about a lot online, the ultimate option stage.
Stage 3 is agency. Sometimes this is called FU money.
Right.
This means you have enough in liquid savings or investments that you could, if you chose, quit your current job at a moment's notice without hesitation.
You still have to get another job eventually.
Eventually, yes, but you have the genuine option to walk away from a toxic situation or just take a strategic break. You have the freedom of time. This stage is also defined by having paid off all non-mortgage debt, including student loans.
Wow. Okay, so once you hit agency, the jump to the thriving stages seems monumental.
It is.
Because now the goal isn't just surviving a crisis, it's being financially sustained by your assets.
It is a massive leap. You're going from requiring income in stage 3 to generating income passively in stage 4.
And stage 4 is called security.
Stage 4 is security. This is the point where your investment income alone can cover your basic needs for the rest of your life. And we're talking about basic food, essential clothing, simple housing, and basic health care. You don't have to earn another dollar.
Even though you probably still will.
Most likely, but you don't have to.
Then we arrive at the ultimate goal for most wealth builders, which is stage 5.
Stage 5 is independence. This is the classic definition of financial freedom. Your investment income can now support your current standard of living for life. This is having enough.
And this is where that comparison trap really becomes meaningless.
Totally meaningless, because independence looks wildly different for everyone. For someone living a minimal lifestyle, it might mean sustaining, say, a $12,000 annual lifestyle. For someone else, it might require $120,000 per year.
In stage 6, that's for those who have moved far beyond their own needs.
That's abundance. That's having enough and then some. Your passive income grants you the freedom to pursue major luxuries, build significant charitable foundations, or, underwrite complex projects without financial restriction.
Viewing the journey like this as a series of achievable steps, solvency, stability, agency, it makes the overall goal of independence feel far less abstract and overwhelming.
It does. It's a constant reminder that the more margin you create, the more freedom and risk you can take in life.
Okay, so now let's look at the behavior that prevents people from actually advancing through these stages.
Right. And it often comes down to behavioral finance, the simple fact that humans we're hardwired for instant pleasure. Financial well-being requires practicing delayed gratification.
Yeah, that daily conflict, right?
Yeah.
The wanting that immediate dopamine hit from a purchase versus the long-term gain of seeing your investments compound.
Exactly. And we need mechanisms to disrupt that hardwiring. The advice here is powerful, but it's really simple. Institute a pause,
A waiting period.
a waiting period. If you're inclined to spend on a desire rather than an absolute need, take 24 or 48 hours to reflect and check your budget. So often the urge just passes.
And on a practical level.
Practically speaking, combat the temptation and the FOMO by disabling push notifications from every single online shopping app. Don't let the temptation come to you. You have to go looking for it.
That focus on intentionality brings us squarely to budgeting. And everything we've seen makes a very strong case for zero-based budgeting, or ZBB.
ZBB demands intentionality because it forces you to look forward, not backward. The rule is simple. Income minus expenses must equal zero.
Every dollar has a job.
Every single dollar you expect to earn this month is given a job before the month begins, whether that job is giving, saving, spending, or paying off debt.
This sounds way more adaptive than those rules of thumb we often hear, like the 50-30-20 rule.
It is superior because the 50-30-20 rule, 50% for needs, 30 for wants, 20 for savings, it often fails people. Well, especially those aggressively paying off debt or living in high cost of living areas. For instance, in a city with very high rents, your true needs might absorb 60 or 70% of your income.
Right, leaving no room for that 20% savings goal.
Exactly. ZBB adapts. It forces you to assign the real 70% to rent, the remaining 30% to savings and other spending, and it ensures you aren't just guessing.
So the steps for ZBB are clear. List your income, list your expenses in order of priority, subtract until you hit zero, track your expenses, and then, crucially, create a new, fresh budget every single month.
That engagement is the magic key. It avoids complacency and helps people avoid the common pitfalls that arise as their life stages change. And we should probably highlight the biggest errors to dodge in each decade.
Let's do it. Let's start with the 20s, which is all about habit forming and really opportunity.
The biggest mistakes here are structural. Overspending, failing to budget consistently, and delaying retirement contributions. Missing out on the power of compounding interest in your 20s is probably the most expensive mistake you can ever make.
And credit can be a double-edged sword here.
It really can. People either misuse credit and get into early high-interest debt, or they avoid it entirely, which is also a mistake because you need to build good credit to achieve those later stages.
Okay, moving into the 30s. People are supposed to be building a solid foundation, but they often face that lifestyle creep.
This is where people start failing to increase their retirement savings as their income grows. Lifestyle inflation just eats up those RESAs. They accumulate high-interest debt, often driven by new family needs or furnishing a first home.
Which stalls the climb to stability.
It stalls a climb to stage 2 and 3 severely. And the other major error is failing to invest beyond their basic 401k, missing out on broader wealth growth.
Then the 40s. This is often the decade of peak expenses. Mortgages, kids, career demands.
And this is the era of the classic financial mistake. Prioritizing children's college expenses over their own retirement.
Yeah, this one is huge.
We have to hammer this home. There are loans for college. There are no loans for retirement. You have to secure your own future first. Another error is failing to diversify investments. As you get closer to retirement, your portfolio should become more conservative. And critically, people neglect estate planning, power of attorney, naming guardians.
All the important stuff that feels overwhelming.
So stuff nobody wants to do.
Finally, the pre-retirement years, the 50s and 60s. What are the last chance errors people make here?
The biggest mistake is insufficient retirement savings. But thankfully, this is when you can take advantage of catch-up contributions to your retirement accounts.
Okay.
People often ignore the severe reality of rising healthcare costs in retirement. You have to budget for them. And then there are two very specific errors.
What are they?
Failing to maximize Social Security benefits by understanding the optimal ages to claim, and a technical mistake in the mid-60s or early 70s, which is forgetting about required minimum distributions, or RMDs.
What exactly are RMDs and why do they matter so much?
RMDs are mandatory withdrawals that the government requires you to start taking from certain retirement accounts, like 401ks and traditional IRAs, typically starting around age 73.
And if you don't?
If you fail to take the proper amount, the penalties can be severe, sometimes 25% or more of the required amount. Forgetting this can wipe out a year's worth of savings very, very easily.
Wow. So what does this all mean? The path to genuine financial confidence involves, first, shifting your mindset away from comparison, then establishing resilience, which we're defining as achieving stage 2 or 3, stability or agency.
And then implementing intentional habits,
Right.
specifically zero-based budgeting and that daily practice of delayed gratification.
It seems like the single best next step you can take is to just identify your current stage on that path.
Exactly. Are you in dependence, solvency, stability, agency security, independence, or abundance? Knowing where you stand precisely guides the most important action you need to take next, rather than leaving you just guessing in the dark.
And remember the importance of time. Financial success isn't about being the smartest person in the room, it's about being the most consistent. The
Yeah,
best person who's going to take care of the old you is the young you.
that's so true.
So what single intentional action will you take today? Whether that's calculating your net worth, starting a zero-based budget, or just delaying one purchase to give your future self more freedom and more options.
A great question to end on.
And if you found this discussion valuable, remember you can sponsor vpod.ai for just $25. Your message will be featured across major platforms like Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and more. If you're interested, just contact info@vpod.ai to get started today. Thank you for guiding us through this vital conversation.
My pleasure.
Until the next conversation.